As a salesperson, one of the biggest things that you're probably crazy about right now is getting hot leads. But not just any hot leads, leads that are just going to buy from you, right? And you think, well, what if I just go to LinkedIn because that's like the leads mecca? Will I not be able to find people there? Well, on today's episode, my friend Doug Brown is going to talk to you about that and give you some ideas of how you can generate those hot leads, hot B2B leads on LinkedIn. Check it out. Hey, everyone. Welcome to another great episode of the Sales Evangelist Podcast here on TSC TV on YouTube. I'm your host, Donald Kelly, the Sales Evangelist. And I'm so excited for another great episode. I'm so excited to be here with you today. And on this episode, we're going to talk to Mr. Doug C. Brown. And Doug and I are going to talk about his experience and some of the things that we can learn and do to be effective when it comes towards generating hot, new business-to-business leads from LinkedIn. Now you're going to say, Donald, well, who is this Doug guy? Tell me, I want to hear about him. Give him his credibility before I switch, go to listen to another thing. But here's the reason why. Doug has closed tons of money, tons of deals, over $500 million in deals. He has worked with Fortune 500 companies, over 30 years of experience selling, and he's helped build sales teams with 166 people underneath him and as direct reports. And he's worked with Fortune accounts all the way up to working with organizations that were celebrity accounts. So he's done it. If you name it, he's been able to help them. And one of the great things that I like about Doug is just his personality, his ability to connect. He's going to be a straight shooter. He's going to tell you. You're going to probably want to hear the magic formula, the magic trick that he uses. Well, I'm not going to tell you exactly what it is, but when you listen to the episode, you'll hear what his magic formula is. Hopefully you discovered it. Anyways, as we dive in, you'll get a chance to get a sense of Doug, and then also get a chance to understand his definitions or his understanding of how we can be effective on LinkedIn. And what are some of the challenges that people face right now? It's good stuff. Let's go ahead and dive in. Welcome to the show, Doug.
Hey, Donald. Thanks for having me here. I really appreciate being here.
Of course, man. I'm super excited to have you. And the funny thing is that we were talking before this podcast, and I was trying to rub into Doug about being in South Florida. And he's like, Donald, I know exactly where you are. I have friends right down there in your backyard. So now we are kindred spirits, because when he comes to Florida, we're going to have a barbecue together.
I can't wait. I'll be down in a week.
Oh, great. There we go.
Get out of this cold weather and see you.
Well, Doug, man, yeah, there you go. I'm excited to talk to you today, and we want to talk about LinkedIn. We've been bragging about LinkedIn for a little bit, and every sales professional who's listening to this and watching this video, they understand the importance and the power that can come from LinkedIn. However, many people are not seeing success with it. And I would love to ask you, based on your wonderful years of experience, why is that most people are not finding success when it comes to LinkedIn?
Well, firstly, thanks for those wonderful years of experience. That means a nice way of saying you're pretty old, right? No, well, we're best friends. We gotta do this.
We got to wrap
Yes, exactly. So, one of the number one reasons I see people on LinkedIn really, or in prospecting in general, is they're making it too complex. Mm-hmm. They're trying to make things perfect versus just somewhat prolific. The other thing is they're not really clear on their target audience. And they think they are, but then they're not really clear. So if I gave them, for example, you only have 100 people in the next 6 months that you can prospect on LinkedIn or anywhere else, just 100 people, and you still got to break quota, you still got to do everything you're doing, would you think about your potential buyers in a different way? Would you be more careful?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, because those 100 people, if I don't get any of them, if I don't bring value to them, because I think what some of us think is like, well, if I blow through this, then I'm going to find some more people. But if those are my infinite number of people, I'm going to make sure the message, when I do connect with them, and the way that I reach out to them is going to be, top notch, because I don't want to run out. I want to
Well,
be able to have people.
they don't, they only have 100. So, you blow 7 out the door and now you're down to 93, right? So if you really couldn't replenish over and over, then what would be the perfect person that you or any of us would want to do business with?
Yeah, dang. That you're giving me some thoughts to think about right now, and I'm freaking in here in the podcast episode with you.
Well, I've learned a lot already in our conversations too. So thank you.
Yeah. No, but it's serious. I mean, and if you really think about that, it means a lot. Like it gives me a lot to think about, even just as the host, just from my vantage point, and like, and someone who has been and does know and does take advantage of means of being able to prospect effectively. But I'm just even re-examining, am I thinking about my customers in that same way? Am I thinking about those prospects and the leads that I have in that same way? Or am I looking at this infinite number and I'm not giving the best foot forward, if that makes sense?
Yeah. I mean, and the reality is, it's for most people, it's not their fault, right? Because they were trained to go wide funnel down into the narrow of what drops out of the funnel, and those will be your qualified prospects. But if we think about it differently on LinkedIn, and we think, okay, we're going to start narrow at the top, and we're going to still have a slightly more narrow focus coming down, but just not, 1,000 leads down into the, the 100 that might make sense, into the 20 that actually do make sense, right? You're going to start, let's say, in this case, with a very narrow, 100 people, that comes down to your ideal 25 or 30, right? So you kind of, because we're getting into the ball field that we want to play in, instead of going into a hockey rink thinking we're going to do baseball, right? Even though it's a sporting arena, and, it has the name out there, down in your area, I guess the BBT would be closest to you, right? So,
BB&T Center.
Yep. And, so if we think about it in terms of who are our ultra high quality prospects that we would love to do business with, because the challenge on LinkedIn or any prospecting method is the follow-up, right? For a lot of times. And so if you get hundreds and hundreds of people that you're constantly trying to be in touch with, you're going to drop the ball. And guess what? A lot of times these people are in similar networks, right? So
they spread that word. Like, did you get spammed the other day by Donald sending you 10 to all of these different
or that, and you're going to work with that guy because you know what, he prospected me before, and quite frankly, I haven't heard from him, right? And that's probably more damaging than the spamming thing, because it's a reputation issue right there. And to kind of illustrate this, Donald, I mean, the power of follow-up is crazy immense, and it needs to start from the first conversation, from the first connection, right? I have you probably would appreciate this, being the sales evangelist. I was on I got invited to listen in to a sales consulting call. Now, these are all sales consultants. And this gal comes on and she says, I just lost 500 units. 700 units. I just lost 700 units in a sale. Now, I know what she's selling is $500 a unit. So, yeah. So now here's the crazy part, Donald. She gets 50% commission annually, and the average client stays between 5 and 10 years once they buy.
So she ain't got to do jack once. She
175 grand a year coming in, right? For maybe the next 10 years. But she said these magic words. She said, I prospected them. I got there. Didn't really seem like they were going to buy, so I never followed up again.
Oh,
and then they sent me a message, hey, we've been trying to get a hold of you. So, and so we bought from someone else. Wow. The same exact program, same exact product, right? Because this company that she represents has multiple reps out in the world. And so
Yeah.
it's one now think about it. If we only had, let's just say 100, and we had to make those 100 work in the year, we would follow up.
Yeah.
We would do those things because we don't have another option.
When it comes, I mean, first off, I mean, I hope that she's okay because she didn't have a heart attack.
Yeah, I would have been maybe looking over something, a cliff or a bridge or something.
But that's first off, that's crazy that happened. And secondly, it happened because of her assumption, and then also not doing the act or the follow up. And there's a book that Judy Garmez wrote. She came on our podcast, like episode number 10 or somewhere down there. But she mentioned she had the concept is the power of follow up and how important that is. And I think when it comes towards LinkedIn, when you're going back to what you said there, like the relationship that must be built. Because if I'm trying to reach out to these high value people or people that could be these high value potential customers, and I'm doing that one trick pony like many sellers do, that means, well, first off, if I'm trying to get a hold of Doug on LinkedIn, Doug is a busy person. If I send that one message to you and I build a relationship with you, and then I send one message to you and you don't respond, and I get offended by that, that's saying that I am not suitable to be an effective seller. I am not thinking about your well-being and not understanding that you probably have other things going on. What are some other ways that I can at least bring this to your attention, this belief that I have that this product can help or this service can help you? And I think it just goes back down to that how do I view you am I seeing you as a person or just seeing you as a number? I don't know if that makes sense.
And a lot of people selling, it's like I said, it's not their fault. They're trained that way, right? They look at, and a lot of companies look at top line revenue versus looking at, okay, what's the effectiveness and the efficiency of the actual revenue we have in the company? And, that's what I specialize in. And so if they think about prospecting differently, because the game's changed. Okay. I mean, I'm obviously older than you are. Right. So
2 years older.
Yeah. And, but in the old days, you didn't have the internet.
No.
I was selling when there was no internet, when dial-up, when AOL was like, you got mail was like like, oh my gosh, what's that? Right. So where does everybody think that all the concepts online came from?
Came from offline.
That's the only place. Right. But the problem is when they go online, they think it's different. They don't think, just like you just said earlier, about building the relationship. They're thinking about, I'll deal with this like it's, Facebook or Instagram or whatever. And LinkedIn is not. It's a totally different play. It's all about relationships. And when we look at, because there was no online years ago, the seller had all the information, or pretty much.
Yeah.
Today, with a few clicks of a mouse, the buyer has more information sometimes about the seller's company than the seller even knows. So,
it's funny you should say that. And I think sometimes there are some people out there, and I'm just going to be the devil's advocate. They'll probably be like, well, the buyer, I still know more than the buyer. And I think that some people may think that they know more than the buyer, but I have been in the buyer's situation many times where I have gone to, and I tell you, hear me out on this, Doug. I went to a company and I went to their website and I've dug around on those websites, especially when I'm trying to find something like a solution for my organization. I'm digging around, or my team members are digging around. I'm doing research. I'm talking to people. And the average salesperson, they may have done research on their product the first week when they went to product knowledge. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They went through that product knowledge training and they've heard people talk in demos, but they haven't done the deep analysis. That's why when we ask those frequently asked questions, oftentimes they can't answer it because they don't do the homework on it.
Right.
They're just a BDR, quote unquote. You know what I mean? Their job is to set an appointment or disqualify you. You know what I mean?
Without question. And, when somebody thinks I know more than my customer,
Yeah.
I'd tell them the humility meeting starts at 3:00 tomorrow. Why don't you show up early, right? Because, I mean, come on. I mean, somebody, especially, they can be a product sales expert, and that's great. But people don't pay high figures, which in most cases in LinkedIn, you're going after a larger sale in most cases.
Yeah.
People buy on value. And it depends on, if you, in a service, studies clearly show that 90+% of CEOs or business owners, that they prefer to have a peer-to-peer referral into that than somebody coming in cold. And stats show, you can look these up on LinkedIn, all different ones, HubSpot, wherever, that over half the people who are making a buying decision today are going online first, and they're figuring out what they may need and what they may not need. And the challenge with people who come in and say, well, I know more about the prospect than my products and services, even though it's maybe even true, is the buyer doesn't care what you know. The buyer cares what they need, what they want, what they have to have. And so if you're selling just on, I know my company and my product even better than they do, that's great, but you're getting half the buying decision at that point. That is a corporate agenda. And behind every corporate agenda is a personal mission of some sort, right? A personal agenda. So if we don't build the relationship, we don't make that person feel valued in that relationship, then we're selling on product or service knowledge. And yeah, it still works, but you're not going to get as high a conversion rate, certainly not a higher close rate, than if you sell on value. And what's value? What they value, not what we value, right? And it could be one and the same, and that's playing win-win.
Yeah. It's values in the eye of the beholder, right? In that prospect side. And I think there's so many things that you've hit up on so far today, Doug. And what I'm going back to is this idea that when it comes towards sales, or when it comes towards professional selling, when it comes towards getting hot B2B leads on LinkedIn, it's not about a one-trick pony. I mean, from a lot of the guests that I've spoken to so far, it's not like there's one thing you just go on there and you push this button and you get Sales Navigator and you get money. What it comes down to is no matter how much
no matter how much LinkedIn tells you that's how it happens, right? Just pay your $90 or whatever it is.
Pay that $90 every month. The end of the month, mine comes out. But what it comes down to is you connecting with people. It's you talking to individuals. It's you building relationship. And I know that sounds so cliche, y'all, but it just works. It's where you're talking to individuals from a human standpoint and addressing things that matters to them. And that's what I've seen with my leads, so to speak. When I've been able to address topics on my LinkedIn profile, whether it were like a poll or whether it was like, commenting on sharing an experience, there were things that mattered to that 100 that you would say, then that caused them to become second degree connections that like my stuff or comment.
Right.
And then that leads to me having a one-on-one dialogue with them, and then therefore leading to me potentially sending an email about connection, and that allows them to raise their hand to say, okay, I'll listen to you. You sound like you're relevant.
Yeah. I mean, think about it in the terms of, you and I believe you're married, right?
I am.
And I'm married too. So think about it though, when we weren't married, right? Yeah. We'd go out, we'd find somebody, we go, wow, that person, my heart goes aflutter. And then what do? We do everything we can to impress them. We do everything we can to build a relationship. We do everything. We send them flowers. We send them cards. We tell them how much they mean to us. We, show up on time if you're smart. All of these things that we would do. And then we continue to keep doing them all the way through the phase of the relationship.
Yeah.
Why the heck don't we do that for our business? I mean, you don't have to send your business folks flowers or heart-shaped candy, but why don't you let them know you care and care about what they care about and help them solve their problems and their frustrations that are going on, because that's what they want.
Yeah. That's what matters most to them. I'm a BDR. I'm brand new and working for your company, and you're commissioning me to go to on LinkedIn, and I want to find success. Walk me through what would you tell me to do based on everything that you've just explained. What would you have me do that first couple of weeks?
That's a good question. I have no idea. No, I'm just kidding.
It's like go find it. Go on LinkedIn. Go make sales, Donald.
Time to go to the beach. So, look, here's the first thing. If I'm hiring somebody, I better know the persona they're going after, right?
Yeah.
I, as the business owner, must know this. If you leave it up to the salesperson to interpret this, we're going to get inconsistencies across the board, because some salespeople have better skills and some people think differently. Some are highly methodical. They're going to go after engineering types more, because they're familiar with them. And we all like to work with people that we're familiar with, who remind us of how great we are, right? And how we think. So the first thing I would do is I would define the persona for this individual. This is what we're going after. This is the exact target we're going after. And your job is to go after, 100 of these in the next 6 months. This is it, right? And okay, so how are you going to do that? Well, want me to share an insider secret?
Please.
Well, we're friends, so why not? Okay, so here's the deal. I've done this, and it works really great. So you talked about surveys, or you talked about things of that nature in the past. The problem is a lot of people on LinkedIn are reaching out and saying, hey, here's my survey. I'd like you to take that. Or, trying to put information in front of people. But the first thing that I do is I ask permission. So I send out and I go, hey, I believe, based on the research that I've done, that this probably could benefit you, but I'm doing some research to make sure of this. Would you mind if answering a few questions if I just sent a few questions to you on LinkedIn? I have about a 95% yep response rate out of that. And so once you get permission, you send your few questions. Once the questions go, guess what? Half of them answer the questions.
Yeah.
Right? So if we had 100 people, I now have approximately 45 that are answering questions with me on LinkedIn. And by the way, this happens very fast. In the first 30 days, you'll start getting all this stuff happening. Then you want to join groups where these people frequent. Why do you want to join groups? Because you want the group exposure, number one. Number two, they're in the group. So now you start answering questions in the group and you start positioning as an expert. And then you take it to the next level, because you can't just use LinkedIn. You have to use offline methods as well. So in my case, I might send them a postcard. I might send them oh, God forbid, a handwritten note, right?
No.
Oh, I know. What's that thing? It's a pen, right? The reality is, though, Donald, that most people don't get these in the mail. I mean, I bet, and I don't know, so you could tell me I'm wrong, but I bet if you got a hand-addressed something that looked like a card or something, or a little lumpy mail package, but it was hand-addressed to you, you'd probably open it up. Oh, look at that. You have one right there.
Yeah, it came in the mail the other day. I just put it in a desk coffee mug on my table. But it's from Kurt, so big shout out to Kurt. It's halfway to my birthday.
That's awesome. Here, I'll show you one I got. That's awesome.
See, guys, these are important. I mean, it's just these little things. So even though it's like Kurt wasn't trying to sell me anything, but it's just like it's on my desk, and now I'm reminded of him, and it's just staying top of mind.
And that's the key, right? You're going to be building relationships. And the problem with sellers, challenge as sellers, are trying to sell. Yeah. And that worked a lot better in the old days, because the buyer actually needed salespeople far more than they do today.
Yeah.
And so because they have the information, because they're educated, because of all these things, what people are forgetting is the human dynamic of all this. And the more you get to know these things, the better you'll be. Harvey McKay, I don't know if you know who he is. He wrote a book called Swim with the Sharks.
I've heard of
And
I've
I,
heard of Harvey
I
McKay.
remember walking with Harvey one day down a corridor, because I asked him a couple evidently intelligent questions, and he said to me, he's a lot older than I am. Hey kid, walk me to my limo, will you? And so I did. And he explained to me he has what he calls the McKay 66, 66 different fields. That is all about personal information on his prospects, the family of the prospects, the education, where they went to school, their sports, their political affiliations, everything. He knows everything about this. And when he was first telling me this, Donald, I said to him, Harvey, this seems pretty cool. Does it work? And he turned to me and he said this. Well, I had a client I was trying to get into for 2 years. And I just stayed with the guy. I stayed with the guy. And then I found out, because his son loves hockey, and his son ended up in the hospital. So I went to, I won't say the area so people don't stalk Harvey, but I went to the local National Hockey League, and I had some friends who actually knew some pro players. So I asked them if they would go visit this young man in the hospital.
Oh, wow.
And they showed up with signed hockey sticks and all this stuff, right? And Harvey paid evidently for them to go. But here's the point, $100 million deal.
Can't beat that.
Right? So I'm sorry, maybe it's a $10 million. That was a $10 million deal. They had a $100 million company. So, but it was 10 million bucks, right? And so the reality is that the reason that worked was because it no longer came just about your positioning as you're a vendor or you're somebody who can sell them something. You're positioning as someone who truly cares about the goodwill of not only them, but their family.
Yeah.
And, human to human connections always been what sold the most. Rapport will sell more than anything.
Oh.
Somebody trusts you, likes you, respects you. You're 80% of the way down the road. Could you still lose the sale because you're not the right fit? Yeah. But in most cases, the old saying, people love to do business far more with people that they like versus those they don't. And so, yeah, I would get the direct persona for this person. I would have some follow-up sequences or follow-up templates that are all pre-designed that you can just adjust and make them personal. I would let they would go out and start doing their thing, doing the research, getting the people, figuring out where they are, send out something saying, hey, I have a few questions I'd like to ask. Do I have your permission? Start the engagement process, join groups, continue to keep following up, send them something else offline, make a phone call. If you know their cell phone, text them, but don't stalk them, right? Or ask them permission, say, listen, I have your cell phone number. Do you mind if I, text you some great information every once in a while or whatever? You want to build a relationship. And we used to do this offline all the time, Donald, back when, internet was just coming in. And I mean, look, I've got companies that have done stuff like this. And this is how I got NASCAR as a client.
Oh my goodness.
Right. I mean, it took me 2 years, but I got NASCAR. Right. So, and, I've worked with a lot of bigger names, Procter & Gamble, Enterprise Rent-A-Car, Intuit, CBS Television, all of those, and more. And a lot of them just came from building personal relationships. And that's what you got to do on LinkedIn.
I love this. Doug, these are all wonderful insights, wonderful information here. If folks listening to this want to get connected with you, how do they go about doing so?
Well, my LinkedIn profile is Doug Brown 1234. So if you don't find it under that, it's Doug. Just type in Doug Brown or Doug C. Brown, Berklee College of Music. I have no idea. Berkeley's search rankings must be really high within LinkedIn because it comes up every time. I never graduated from Berkeley. That's the funny part. I graduated from 2 other schools, but Berkeley comes up first all the time. So,
well, great.
But I did attend.
Great school there at Berkeley. There was a debate tournament, that was out at Berkeley when I was in high school. But anyway,
Oh, really?
yeah. Speech and
You
debate.
so in Boston, you came to Boston and did the debate.
They had the debate. Yeah, it was in that one of the national tournaments. So
Might have been right when I was in school. You never know.
you were that guy who was picking on the high
I was the
schoolers.
guy.
Hey, Doug, I appreciate you taking the time to come on the show today, man. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, Donald. You have a wonderful day, and you're certainly a gentleman, and you present yourself really well. I appreciate how you are and what you do.
That means a lot. Thank you. That was the one and only Doug Brown. And if you want to connect with Doug, you can go ahead and find all of his information in the show notes. You can go ahead and scroll down if you're watching this on YouTube. You'll see the links down below. Click on it. Go back to Doug's to LinkedIn profile. And also, when you go there, you get a chance to learn a little bit more about some of his cool things. You'll see his all his Berkeley information. And then also, you'll get a chance to understand now why he's the way he is. I mean, the guy he's done it. He's been successful. The other piece, I hope you discover that formula. And that formula, when it comes towards being successful at generating those hot new business development leads, Doug kind of said in the middle there, it really comes down to relationships. Taking the offline experiences and make it an online experience. And everyone that I've spoken to so far when it comes towards being effective on LinkedIn, that's what it come back to. So if you're looking for that magic formula, that's what it is. I testify to you that this stuff works. If you are doubtful about being effective on LinkedIn, utilize the strategy. If you're listening for the first time, I want you to go ahead and hit subscribe. If you haven't done so already, leave us a rating and review. My goal is to help you to succeed, and one of the ways that I can help you to do so is telling you to take advantage of our sponsors who give us amazing deals, by the way. And I want you to check them out. Check out some of those great offers that they're giving. If you haven't, please do it today. Take advantage of those offers. As always, I want you to find more of those ideal customers. I want you to know what to say when you reach out to them. I want you to close more deals. But most importantly, I want you to change your mindset and go out each and every single day and do big things. Thanks so much for watching. Hey, thanks so much for taking the time to watch this video today. If you enjoyed the content, I ask you to go ahead and hit that like button, that thumbs up at the bottom right-hand corner. Also, to make sure to subscribe if you haven't done so already. This way, we'll keep you up to date with all the latest sales strategies, latest tools, and things that are going to help you to not only find more prospects, but to close more deals. Thanks so much.